Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the topic of my last episode. And if you're unable to join us and listen to the show, links can be found on my YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. Now, let's learn a little bit about my guest today. With more than 40 years of business, marketing, sales, and management experience, and now coaches hundreds of coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs in more than 40 different industries. She built and sold 5 successful businesses and knows what it takes to succeed in all areas of business. Today, she has a passion to help others take their success to higher levels. So, Anne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Candy. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you.
Well, I'm glad that you're here to talk about this topic. But before I get into questions that I have for you, I'd love for you to tell me just a little bit more about yourself and how did you become a coach working with entrepreneurs?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking. So I was in corporate for about 13 years, running multi-million-dollar departments in a multi-billion-dollar retail organization. And I had kids, and I decided I did not want to have that type of a career, which was very crazy hours and all of the things that don't make it easy to be a mom and have a career. So I made the decision to leave that and wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But my husband's paycheck just didn't quite cover everything. And so the math didn't work, and I started looking for a way to make money. And when I say it didn't work, it really didn't work. We really experienced hard times. It was very, very difficult to try to squeeze another dime out of his paycheck. And there was a turning point, and so I just started looking and praying for a way to make money. So I started my first business. It was a creative doll company, and I started by just creating some items and putting them in a little store. And long story short, that grew into a global business where I was shipping all over the world. I
Wow.
employed other moms. It was basically running a manufacturing company out of my home. And then after about 7 years, I sold all of my designs and everything to a pattern company and went on to start my second business. And then that grew into 2 health clubs, 2 weight loss centers, and then I sold all of those. And I sold those last 2 businesses because I started coaching small business owners. I worked with a business coach in my last 2 businesses, and it was such a game changer. It set me on such a course to want to learn more, get even better in business, better in marketing, sales, all of those pieces. And before long, I was out there networking already with my other businesses. But before long, I had a lot of business owners that were coming to me and asking me, well, how did you sell these businesses? And how did you do it? And how are you having success? And it felt like a really natural progression into my next thing. And that's how I really became a coach. And I just went out and asked some business owners if I could help them to see if I knew what I was doing. And I had amazing results with them. And I just knew this was my next thing. So I've been doing this for about 13 years now, but I've worked in over 50 different types of industries. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of small business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants. And primarily today, I work with coaches, consultants, and professional service entrepreneurs to really help them build a premium business. So a lot of people have products, they're doing well, but they don't have premium offers and they're not building a very high-end business. They're kind of in the mainstream. And so I help them really work at the top level of their niche or of their industry. So very different model from what most people are doing.
Well, that's true. I mean, we all want to be, successful, but sometimes it can be scary to get there, right? And implementing things. And
Absolutely.
I love that you talked about business coaches too, because having consultants or coaches who can help you along the path, I think is really important because they've got the expertise, right? And they've been there and they've helped others. So I love.
Some have. I do want to say this, that's a really good point you bring up. It is really important for people to vet who they are hiring, because there are a lot of organizations out there that you can buy into, very much like a certification, where
Mhm.
you go and buy into the organization, but that does not mean that you will be an effective coach. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you really understand business. You're just learning their stuff, their materials. And to me, there's so much more than that. One of
Mhm.
the things that makes me very valuable as a coach and a consultant to the people that I work with is I do have all of that in the trenches, mistakes, pitfalls, experience, and success experience. And a lot of people don't. So I would caution someone if they're hiring a business coach, but that person's never owned a business except maybe the one
Right.
they're in. You might want to think about that.
So obviously to get to like this, the premium high end clients, like you were, briefly mentioning too, we do have to be able to sell our products or services. And I know sometimes people are afraid of talking about their products and services, thinking like they're asking for a favor instead of, hey, this is a solution, that I offer. But it can be scary, especially if there's like a higher dollar, amount to that sale.
Mhm.
So what would you tell someone who's listening now who's like, okay, I'm running a business. I am a little bit nervous sometimes when I'm talking to potential clients about the services I offer and what they're going to think when I say, this is the price, or I'm afraid to even price things, a little bit higher. What would you
Mhm.
say to someone who's just a little bit afraid of that whole arena?
Well, first of all, you really have to understand the value that you're bringing to the market. So, one of the first things I help my clients really establish is the value that they're bringing to the market. And I always say, don't sell from your wallet. What you have in your bank account is irrelevant to what clients will pay. And so you
Right.
have to understand how to be able to articulate that value. And so I believe that if there is a fear, you've probably got a problem somewhere that needs to be worked through. Either you don't really know how to articulate the value in a way that it feels comfortable and you're very confident in what you can deliver. Maybe you're trying to deliver something that you're not very confident that you can deliver. That's another
Hmm.
problem. So you have to really determine where the breakdown is. So one of the things I would look at is, okay, what's going on here that you're not comfortable with this? And then I would walk people through the process. And there is something that is not comfortable to them, there's a reason for that. So you
Hmm.
have to figure out what that really is and fix that, to be quite honest.
Hmm. Right. Well, I think part of it may be like the amount of time that they've maybe been in business themselves too, without considering how much time they've actually been doing this particular thing, right? Maybe they worked for a company for a while.
Mhm.
Now they've gone out on their own. And so if someone might be like, well, how long have you been in business? Well, 1 year, 2 years or something. And people might be like, oh, right. But if you're
Mhm.
like, but I did this for 20 years, right? Well, then you've got
Exactly.
experience, right? So I think we sometimes underestimate how much experience we really have, and downplay that.
Oh, 100%. And that is such a big part of what I do with people is helping them really, like really pulling that value from them. I call it career collateral. So if you
Hmm.
have expertise, experience, knowledge, skills that has maybe taken you years to learn. And here's the other thing, it doesn't really matter if you've never done it before. You've done that before.
Right.
So it really comes down to transferring those skill sets and that knowledge, and now the only difference is you're taking it to the market versus someone is paying you inside of a company. There's
Hmm.
no difference in that way there, except the difference is you're probably going to get paid a whole lot more doing it for yourself than working inside of an organization or inside of a company. But those skills are transferable, and aren't any less, like what you're delivering isn't any less valuable to someone else. In fact, it's
Hmm.
probably more valuable than when you had that, when you did that as a job or as a career. So Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Candy, there's a lot of people that decide they're going to start a business and they
Mhm.
don't go down the path of experience, knowledge, skills, expertise. They go out and look for something that they're going to sell or look for something that they're going to buy into. And that is a slow path because now you have to
Mhm.
learn that thing, but then you also have to learn how to build a business, how to market, how
Right.
to sell, the financial side, how to build a team, all of the things that go into building a business. So it's a much slower path. But if you take something that you've already proven that you can do and that you can do well, no one has to teach you your thing. You just have to learn how to build a business around your thing.
Mhm.
And it's just a much faster path. That's why I wrote a book around it, because I was so frustrated with the industry trying to get people to think about, okay, what can they learn or buy into to build their business, when really they probably had a lot of the skill sets and everything that they already needed.
Right. So once somebody kind of faces that fear, right, and realizes, well, I do have the expertise, or, I do have knowledge, and what I have is valuable and there's a need in the market. So they've kind of overcome that. And now it's time to talk to customers. Like, what
Mhm.
would you coach someone in terms of like strategies that they could have in terms of having those conversations with those potential clients and helping them realize, like, you don't have to try to sell your product or service. You just want to find their need and make sure that what you have meets their need. And then when they realize it, right, you could have a client.
Yes, so there's a few steps to this. First of all, if you already know people in the market, and for example, it could be your last employer, it could be a previous employer, you have to determine who is going to be the person that is going to want to buy what it is you are trying to sell, and then approach them. And a lot of times, an employer that you just left could become your first consulting client or your first coaching client. Or, like I said, someone from the past could
Mhm.
become your first client. But if people don't know what you're doing, if they have no idea, that you are out there trying to build a business, they can't buy. So the
Mhm.
first thing is to just really go have conversations, share with people what you're doing, and you can ask their opinion, or if they know someone, or even if it's something that they would be interested in buying, and if they have a need for that. It's less about what you're selling and it's more about the solution that you're providing to people.
Mhm.
So by asking the right questions, you can uncover if what you have is going to be the right solution for them. And then from there, it's showing them that you have the solution to help them. But
Mhm.
selling is really serving. And it's
Right.
really about bringing a solution to the market that people are looking for. And that's what makes people buy anything, is there is some reason why they want that, right? It's a
Right.
solution to something, or it's a want or a need or a desire. So you just have to determine what that is going to be with your
Mhm.
business.
And understanding what types of questions to ask to get to that point too, right? Just a surface level
Yes.
question isn't going to really uncover their deep need, but being able to listen and ask like the next question,
Mhm.
until you can get to that point where they're like, "Yep, you're talking to me. That's the problem I want to solve."
Right. And a great way to do this too is really understand what the problems of the person that you're approaching. So for example, if you're working in a particular industry, maybe you're coming from the tech industry and you've built a career in tech, and now you want to become a consultant and you want to do your own consulting, and you want to advise them on tech. To really understand the problems they're going through and what they are struggling with that's relevant right now, it
Mhm.
is the thing that will open the door. And then once you have that conversation, then you can share with them what it is you have that can help them. But asking questions, I always say, that allows people to buy versus you having to sell. So when you ask the
Right.
right questions and you let them uncover their need or their wants or their desires, then you're influencing them to buy, which is very different from selling them.
Mhm.
And I heard I ran a couple of health clubs, couple of weight loss centers. And one of the things that I was taught many, many years ago, probably 20 years ago, is when women would come in or people would come in for weight loss, we were taught that it's almost like if you think about ice cream with caramel in the middle, and you have to dig in and keep digging and keep digging until you get to the caramel. And that was really sort of the way they kind of the metaphor, the analogy they gave us for sales conversations
Mm,
is you have to get to the emotion of why someone wants to lose weight, because
right.
if you don't get to the emotion, they're not going to buy. It's the same thing with any kind of sale, really. But that comes from asking the right questions. And
Mhm.
then, like you said, listening and then showing them how you have the solution for those things.
Right. So, what would you say to someone who's saying, well, I know I've gone to, somebody who said you have to be prepared to overcome objections, right? And if somebody is having an objection, is it because you're really not finding out what their need is? Or maybe even though they have that need and you found the pain point, maybe they're a little nervous about the pricing. Like, what would you say in terms of someone who is thinking, like, I have to learn how to overcome objections?
So, with the process that I teach, I really believe in influencing buyers so that you don't have to overcome a lot of objections. And objections could be a lot of things. It could be they don't believe that you can do what you say you can do, or that you are actually the expert. So, the first
Mhm.
thing you want to do is get positioned as an expert and an authority for that particular thing. And
Mhm.
that comes with a lot of different things. That could be even putting logos on your banner on social media for the companies maybe you've done work for, even if they weren't your own clients, but you've done work for those
Mm,
companies. That could help build that expert and authority positioning. So if your positioning is strong, you really can't bring in ultra high end clients, for example, if you don't look like you are the expert, because they're
mhm.
looking for the best. The money's not the issue. They're looking for the best. So typically when you get the money problems, you've got a positioning problem. Your positioning is too weak. They don't understand that you are a premium coach or business, whatever that is. So they don't believe. The other thing is you maybe didn't do a very good job articulating the value. So in the sales conversation, you didn't do a really good job really uncovering what it is they need. The other thing too, though, is to make sure that you're in front of qualified people. If you're
Mhm.
not in front of someone who can afford the services or has a need for your services, good luck. You're never going to close them. So objections are questions, but I really teach my clients how to get very few objections. When you have things structured in the right way all along, which is the process that I teach, you're really in front of the right people who are almost influenced and ready to buy. When people
Mhm.
come to me on a call, they are practically ready. They've already checked me out. They've already seen things that have more or less convinced them that I'm the right person. It's just a matter of, okay, let's just talk about what this looks like and how we can work together. But they also understand I'm a premium coach because I talk about that. I don't hide that fact, and I put that out there in my marketing. And of course, I'm helping other people do the same thing. So
Mhm.
all of that is part of the positioning beforehand. So it isn't one area, it could be multiple things where there is a breakdown.
Right. Well, and when you were talking, you were saying making sure that you're talking to the right person, that they can afford what you're, going to be offering, but without having to come out at the beginning even and saying, how much can you afford to spend, right? Which makes it look like you're just focused on money, right? How would you have that
Mhm.
conversation with someone to make sure that you're not investing time with someone who really isn't going to be able to use your service, but not come across as just thinking about the money?
Yeah, so one of the best ways to do that is just have a qualifying process. Just have an application where people fill it out. And the other thing I love about an application process is or even if you're doing, say, a quick 20-minute call, you need some sort of a qualifier. I
Mhm.
personally love a form that's automated. When they book a call, they fill the form out. And the thing I love about the form is it does a couple of things. It prepares them for the call so that they're very clear about what they want to talk to me about. And it prepares me for the call because I know what they want to talk about. So we don't have to get on there and fumble around. I can already know what it is they're coming to me for. But the other thing on that form is I ask the financial question. do you have the financial resources to invest in my services? Yes, no, or maybe. If
Mhm.
they say no, I don't do the call. Why would I do the call? Why would I
Right.
spend an hour of my time with someone who has no money? Oh, if they say, well, I'm not ready to do anything for 6 months, I don't do the call. Come back when you're ready. My calls are for people that are ready to move forward and they just want to see if it's a fit for us to work together. So that's all part of the qualifying process as well. And if you
Mhm.
don't have that in place, then the chances of you being in front of the wrong people is going to be very, very high, which makes the sales process uncomfortable, not fun. And at the end of the day, you're not going to close the same amount of sales. So I would rather have less leads, but more qualified. My close
Mhm.
rate is very, very high. And I would rather do that than sit on the phone with lots and lots of people and have to try to convince them, which doesn't work anyway, but try to convince them that they should be working with me. I
Mhm.
don't want to do that. So that is a breakdown in the sales process as well. If
Right. I agree in terms of
Mhm.
having one of those intake questionnaires or whatever, you want to call
Mhm.
it, having a form too, because like for me, I asked for that ahead of time too, because it saves time on that call too. So it's more efficient for
Yes.
you and me because I find out ahead of time, what are some of the challenges you're facing? Like, are you an
Mhm.
online seller? Do you have sales tax you have to collect? Like all these different things. So I know what kinds of questions to ask to figure out the
Yes.
services that you need, right? So if we had to do that while we're on the phone, that call is going to be even longer. So for me,
Absolutely.
I think it's much easier to have some information up front. So
Yes, absolutely. And why do you need to sit there and ask those questions when they can just fill it out on the form and you can already be ready for that call? And then you can dive into the things you really do need to talk about to go deeper
right.
into those questions and into that conversation. So, yes,
Mhm.
if you don't have this in place, oh my goodness. It's not fun and it really can take a lot of your time. The other
Right.
things too, though, Candy, is I help people try to eliminate proposals if they can. And I
Mhm.
really talk about, so be upfront about money. When you're having a conversation, this would be great for like a marketing agency where maybe they're doing deliverables, or a consultant going into corporate that's going to deliver leadership training. Or it really depends on what people do. But I talk about co-creating a solution with them versus writing a proposal. If you write a proposal and you email, which is what a lot of people do, it's I mean, good luck with that. Your close rate's going to be much lower. You're missing out on opportunity. You're losing money. And to me, it is sort of it's a lot of people do it because they think it's the way it should be done,
Mhm.
but it is, in a way, you're not honing your sales skills that way, and you're leaving it up to the proposal to do the heavy lifting in the sales. The chance of getting that sale is going to be very, very low, or you're going to be chasing people. So if you can co-create solutions with people and again ask those questions, and what do you need? Okay, how would this work? This is one way I could help you. Would that work? And you co-create the solution and you find out where their budget is and you have that conversation up front, it makes it so much easier. It's being completely transparent in
Mhm.
that sales conversation with them. And the chances of them going anywhere else is going to be very slim because you have just sat there and worked out a solution with them and
Mhm.
you've done it within their budget. Why would they go anywhere else? It wouldn't even make sense. But when
Right.
you email proposals, they'll take that and they'll go have a conversation with 10 more people to see where they can get the lowest price. So don't put yourself in a commodity category. Step up and be an expert and be an
Mhm.
authority and learn how to sell. It's one of the best skills you can ever learn in your life.
Right. Well, and when you were talking earlier too about the expertise and your positioning might be kind of weak, someone might be hearing that and saying, okay, well, I want to be seen as an expert. I want to be seen with, an authority in my industry, but I'm not sure how to make sure it's stronger than what it is because I'm not attracting those high end clients yet. Or if I do get some, I'm not closing. So, what would you say are a couple tips maybe that you can offer to help them hone that to be a little bit stronger?
Sure. Well, it probably is going to start with your message. So, first of all, if you're trying to get high end clients, you want to make sure that they know you're for them. And you want to make sure that the message that you're putting out there, and it should be consistent across all channels. So it doesn't matter if they find you on Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok, they see who you are for and what you do. And that message should be very, very consistent, but it also needs to be very powerful and very relevant to them. The other thing is you want to make sure you don't look like a jack of all trades. So make sure you look like the expert. And then it should be backed up with all the reasons why you are the expert. So social proof is very powerful, making sure that your brand looks high end and not budget. Those are important pieces as well. They're going to look at you, how you're dressed, all of those things, and then make sure that your content and everything that you're putting out there is very, very relevant to, again, to what they are wanting or what their needs are. Make sure you really understand what your market wants, and then put content out that they would be really drawn to, so they're influenced that you are the person that can help them. The other thing is educate your audience. And I don't mean educate them by sharing other people's posts and articles. Sure, you can do those things, but what I mean is walk them through exactly how you can help them with their problem. When people can clearly see, so I have like a 4-step process, and I say, I help you with your offers, I help you with your marketing, and I go deeper into that, but they can go and look at my marketing. They can look at what it is I do, and they can see the areas that I work in and how I help in those areas. So if people cannot see that from you, there's like this abstract idea of how they don't really know how you can help them. Because selling yourself as a business coach or as a whatever leadership coach or a marketing consultant, those things just make you look like everyone else. They don't make you stand out. They don't put you in a category of one. Strong positioning puts you in a category of one. No one else does what you do the way you do it. And that all has to come out in your marketing. And when you do that, your marketing does the heavy lifting for you, and you'll start attracting the right clients. And if you're not, you've got a marketing positioning problem. If you're not attracting the right clients, you've got a positioning problem. The other thing is they'll Google you. How do you show up on Google? Is it very easy for them to see you? Do they see what you are all about? Here's an example too. I had someone one day that Googled me, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn, and she said she chose me over everyone else because I had a real office. I had a real location. And she said that spoke professional to her, and someone who didn't just fire up her laptop and say she was going to work. And we know we're in a virtual world and people are working from homes. This was kind of before the pandemic, but that was the reason she chose to work with me. But it was also because I had that all optimized on Google, and that came up. And so those are important pieces for people to do. The great thing about online is you can really establish your authority like never before. It's never been easier for people to see what you do and what you're all about, and even to build that credibility. It's never been easier. Before, you had to get on a stage to build credibility. In most cases, you had to be the person at the front of the room. But now when people Google you, you can be that expert in that authority. So
final question before we get to the end, but as you were talking about the authority, I was thinking that sounds great for someone who is their own company. It's just them, like as the consultant. But what about somebody that is running a company that has staff that also helps provide those services? How do they present that information? So like, yes, like I'm the expert, I own the company, but I also have staff who are assisting you. Like, how do you manage that?
That's a great question. So when I was coaching small business owners and entrepreneurs like that were more in the small business sector, I would tell them your company is only as good as your weakest person. So as a leader, as a CEO of your company or a president or whatever you want to call yourself, you are responsible for how good or how bad your people are. And so that is an owner problem. So yes, you're the expert, but it's also up to you to train people. It's up to you to bring the right people into your business, into your company. It's up to you to make sure that you're giving them the tools for success so that they're representing your company the way you want them to. I have a team with my business now, but before, when I was running brick and mortar businesses, I had a lot of employees, and we put the systems in place, and I made sure I hired the people that would represent my business as well. And if it wasn't a good fit, I didn't keep them, because at the end of the day, it was my reputation with the company, and I was the one with everything on the line. So that's an owner problem if they have that issue.
Perfect. Well, I know there's so much more we probably could be talking about on this topic, but I know we're running short on time for today's episode. So I would love for you just to share if you have an offer with our listeners.
Yes, thank you for asking. If you are interested in getting premium clients, if you really are good at what you do and you are an expert, but maybe you haven't added premium services, you don't have to build your whole business that way, but maybe you haven't added premium services and it's really enticing to you, I have an upcoming workshop where I share how to do this. So you can go to expertinyouworkshop.com, and expert in you is spelled out, workshop.com, and you can apply to attend that workshop. It is a free virtual 3-hour workshop, but there is an application process because I want to make sure that the people that are in the room can implement the strategies that I'm teaching. So yeah, if it's something that really, excites you to do, then go and apply to that now. So thank you for asking.
Perfect. And how can people find you if they want to connect with you on social media or maybe a website or anything like that you would like to share?
Well, you can Google me. I practice what I preach. You can Google me. I'm really on all social platforms. I have a pretty robust YouTube channel. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I even have a Facebook group if you want to get even a closer relationship with me. And I have an Instagram account. I am not on TikTok yet. I don't know if I will be. I'm just not, just don't. At this point, don't want to do that, but yes, you can find me, or you can go to my website too. You can just put my name in and you'll find multiple ways you can reach me and connect with me. But I love to connect, so definitely reach out to me and connect with me.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Anne, for being a guest on my show and talking on this topic today. I'm really thankful to have had this discussion.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
And to you, the listener, also thank you for tuning in today. I hope you found this discussion helpful and you enjoyed our conversation on finding high-end clients. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Anne, or you can send me a message at media@abandp.com, and we can make sure that you get a hold of her. I hope you can join me for my next interview. And remember, you can connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and my website is abandp.com. You can find my show, Biz Help for You, posted on several favorite platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And would you please share my show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? I'd really appreciate your support. And thanks so much, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.